Welcome to the next installment of Car Talk. Your host with the most, JD, Johnny. I don't know what we're going to talk about. I was researching to talk about. I do strength and conditioning. My goal is to work with basketball players. That's a sport I enjoy, I like quite a bit, and so that's been a passion of mine. And so I was thinking about and researching things to talk about last night that I thought people would want to know about sports, and so I'm going to talk about it right now. So I've noticed that people wanted to get stability, ankle stability, core strength. What else? Jump higher. Want to get faster, although it's very difficult to kind of assess that or say it in a way that people want to do. Go get faster, get more endurance, sprint endurance. I don't think people know much about like sprint endurance. Well, maybe not. Maybe but let's talk. All right, let me just stop. Talking too much. All right, so value. All right, so ankle stability, ankle mobility for basketball players. What is that, and how do I get it? All right, so when I think of ankle mobility for the sport of basketball, I'm thinking the ability to make certain movement patterns in the ankle, right? When you play a sport or you participate in an activity, routinely, what happens often is that the area of the body, that joint becomes more rigid if you don't perform exercises or activities in the full, utilizing the full range of motion of that given joint. When you don't do it, you limit or you minimize the amount of flexibility in that joint. The muscles move and they shorten quite often, and what happens is, because of that shortening, it reduces the amount of flexibility in that particular area. So what it looks like is now your ankle's so rigid that it stays in this position even though it should be able to flex in that range of motion. What up? Hello. Speak in Hindi. I can't speak in Hindi. I'm sorry. But that area of the body becomes very rigid. And then what happens is, okay, it's rigid, it can't move. Now, when there's so much force that you can't help, okay, when there's so much force, then the body, well, that area of the, frankly, the area of the body gets hurt, it gets injured. Either there's a tear, which, depending on who you are and what you think about it, isn't terrible, or it's a complete detachment, Achilles tear. Think about it that way. The Achilles, that area of the body is so rigid, so tight, that once you get pushed beyond that, when there's a force that's stronger than the Achilles comes into play, you're exposed to it. Now you've got an injury. Ability, I think, one, you have to have enough range of motion in the ankle to be able to do pronation and supination, and then also flexion and extension, all right, or we call it dorsiflexion or plantar flexion, but it's basically flexion and extension for the ankle. Those movements need to be able to happen. You should be able to do almost a circle with your ankle using your feet. If you can't do that, and as you lift it, you get pulled in one or two directions because of the lack of flexibility, that's going to hurt you long term. You're setting yourself up for an injury. Whenever you have a joint in which muscles that cross that joint or tissue that crosses that joint is super tight, excessively tight, that it impacts your range of motion, right? If you lift your leg up and it's so tight that it pulls the leg out, as you lift it up, you should be able to lift the leg up in a straight line. Whenever there's an excessive amount of tension in one of the joints, you're primed for an injury. So stability or mobility are very important when it comes to the joint of the ankles, or the hips, or the shoulders. Elbows, usually not a big issue. Usually it's just overuse. Not necessarily a stability or mobility issue. That often with the ankle or the wrist, but sometimes it is. But you usually see that in areas of the body that are overused. So that's my thought on ankle mobility and stability. So now, how do you correct it? Well, the most important part is when you're lifting and you're working out. If you're not lifting and working out, you can't expect it to improve. You can stretch all you want, but when you're performing those movement patterns, you're doing it under maximum load, full weight of your whole body. So, and usually, sometimes, when you're landing with the force of 2 or more times your body weight. All right, think about it. When you land on one foot, that's all of your body weight on one leg, not 2, on one leg. And often in the game of basketball, you're landing on one foot. So you need to be able to overcome that amount of weight. You need to be strong enough to manage your whole body weight landing on that one leg repeatedly over the course of a game or a season. So that part's very important. What else? So when it comes to ankle mobility, what I mean is you need to be what you need to be able to do is strength train utilizing that range of motion that you have in your ankle. One, you want to maintain that range of motion in the ankle. And 2, you want to, if you did, attain that range of motion in that ankle. It's going to take lifting, it's going to take mobility, it's going to take a whole lot of patience. If you don't have those things, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy, because to get to the point where you lack that amount of range of motion in your body, in that limb, it took months, if not years, for that to occur. You're not going to correct that in a couple of days. So you have to have some level of patience with that joint. There's a couple of ways that I've seen people, and I've done myself, to increase range of motion. One way that I'm kind of exploring right now was from the guy from Squat University. I don't know his name, so I don't want to say it wrong. But what he had people do is actively go through that range of motion with either your hands or a piece of equipment. So pull that body through that limb through that range of motion. So for example, if it's your hamstrings that are super tight, you're going to lift the leg up. Either you want to hold that leg up to get additional range of motion out of it, or you can use a strap or a band to pull that leg to that full range of motion. The next thing you want to do is activate that area. So now we're going to activate and isolate. So what you'll do next is you'll get rid of the band. You don't use your hands anymore. And what you're going to do is you're going to lift that leg up, and hold it, and pause for about 3 to 5 seconds. Now you're activating those muscles that are focused on keeping that range of motion, or retaining that range of motion. And then at that point, you're incorporating muscles that haven't been used because they've been, for lack of a better word, underutilized. And because they're underutilized, they've atrophied a little bit. But now, because you're pulling through that range of motion, those muscles get utilized a little bit more. And then from there, as you start to develop more range of motion in that area, now you're going to utilize that range of motion by doing a squat or a bridge. You just want to incorporate that into a lift, which I thought was really helpful. So I've been exploring that, and I've seen a lot of positive progress. I can link the video if you guys want to see it, but I've been exploring that, and it's been going pretty well. So I figured I'd at least say that. But you want to make sure that, one, you're moving or lifting through the maximum range of motion that you can. Not every single time, because when you're lifting specifically for an activity, sometimes you don't go through the full range of motion. Not exclusively, especially with preseason and in-season comes. If you're competing in a sport or training for a physical endeavor, you want to make sure that you're training specifically for whatever that endeavor is. Hey, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll look at it later when I get back to the house. But hey, good morning. My name's Johnny Dunbar. I'm a strength and conditioning coach specifically for basketball. I figured I'd do some ranting while I'm driving home. So feel free to like and subscribe if you want to hear more of this. And if you know anybody that's interested in hearing about sports injuries or sports performance, feel free to send that to somebody. But yeah, so ankle mobility, stretch, strengthening through the full range of motion. If you can do that, that'll help develop the range of motion. Don't do so much that you end up hurting yourself. Some people tend to do that. They think, okay, if some's good, more is better, but you have to go based on, you have to decide on a range of motion and a repetition scheme for your stretching that is based off of what your experiences with stretching. So for example, you can stretch to the point where you actually injure yourself. So you have to keep that in mind and not stretch too much, which will result in an injury. So how do you figure that out? Well, think about the last time you stretched. How much did you stretch? Did you stretch 30 seconds? Did you stretch for a minute? Think about that. How often did you do it over the course of a month or 4 weeks? Use that as a reference point. Do half of that. Do half of that, and then from there, do it consistently. And then when you increase how much you're stretching, you only increase by about 5 or 10%. So if you've been doing, let's say, you've been doing 15 to 30 seconds, then, don't do much more than that. And then you can build on it the next week if you want to. Don't have to, but the key core thing that I want you to take from this is you have to just stretch it and you have to lift in the full range of motion. Just stretch consistently and stretch the muscle groups. I say stretch all the muscle groups at least over the course of the week, but make sure that you're stretching in general. You gotta make sure that you're stretching. If you're not stretching, hey, what's up guys, good morning. If you're not stretching, you're putting yourself at risk for an overuse injury or an injury in which you're hurt because you have limited range of motion. Whenever you have limited range of motion, what up guys? Whenever you have limited range of motion and your body is pushed outside of that range of motion because of the force in whatever you're doing. I want to give a practical example. So for example, if you have limited range of motion, you can't flex your ankle to this extent, right? It's only right about here. Whenever you're landing from a jump, if you're a basketball player, you know what I'm talking about. Whenever you land from a jump and you get pushed through that range of motion, you're risking a tear of the Achilles or any of the tissue in that area. You're risking an injury because you lack the flexibility to go the full range of motion. So whenever you get pushed outside that range of motion, that's causing excessive trauma. The amount of load, weight, resistance, whatever you want to call it, has far exceeded what your tolerance level or physical capabilities are. That's when the injuries occur. That's why strength training is so important for basketball players and for anyone that participates in anything having to do with physical activity. Most people will say, well, I don't need to lift because, I run. No, dummy. That's the reason why you need to lift. When you jump, just think about it this way. If you're running and you end up going downhill, that's more force on the ankle. That's more force than you've ever experienced when you're running on a flat surface, okay? So when you're doing that run, right, now your body has to slow down. It has to decelerate that amount of force. But you've never increased or prepared your body for decelerating that amount of force. Again, like I said, when you're jumping on one foot, it's the equivalent of almost 3 times your body weight that one limb is experiencing. Running's not going to fix that. Running's not going to help you prepare for that at all. So you have to keep that part in mind. And this is why people that run get themselves in trouble. One, they don't stretch enough. And two, their bodies, their limbs are not strong enough to tolerate that amount of force over and over again. Now you got to sprint. Sprinting's more force on the joints, more force on the tissue. It doesn't help you. And that's why they suffer injuries of the knee, of the ankle, of the hip. I've seen it countless times. I work with a cross-country team. That's what they used to suffer from, because they do it too much to the point that it's not strong enough. That area of the body is not strong enough. And so that becomes a problem. Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going? I'm Johnny. Just ranting about exercise at this point. I'm talking about cross-country runners at this point. I don't know why. It's kind of deviated. But anyways, so that's why strength training for a sport or any physical activity is very important. One, you want to maintain range of motion because it ends up in an injury. Two, you want to strength train through that range of motion so you're strong through that range of motion and you can tolerate excessive levels of load in that range of motion. What's up? And so that's why you got to pay attention to strength training, and that's why you have to do stretching, because it's very essential to health and well-being and your ability to perform. If you're not present for a game or your competition or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, if you can't show up to do the thing because you're hurt, well then whatever you did that caused the hurt or the injury to happen is something that you shouldn't be doing. But sometimes people like to learn the hard way. They like to go through it themselves. They don't want to hear about it from me. I'll tell you exactly. This is how you avoid an injury. This is exactly how you conceptualize it this way. Imagine that your body is a cup. Your joint is a cup. Your muscles are cups, right? If you pour a little bit and you get to the tippy top of the cup, you're good. If you pour so much that it starts spilling out, hello! If you pour so much to the point where it's spilling out, you've done too much. You have to go to the tippy top. When you get there, right, in terms of stress, in terms of trauma, then you get a bigger cup, right? Pour it up to the tippy top, you get another bigger cup. But if it starts spilling over, that's injury. That's injury. You have to pour just enough stress for the joints, just enough stress for the muscles so that they can recover. Whenever you exceed the amount of stress that your body, that your limbs, that your muscles can tolerate, all bets are off. The risk for injury has shot through the roof. It's not now a question of if you're going to get injured, it's a question of when you're going to get injured. And it's going to happen, and you're going to attribute the thing that you did in that moment to the injury. I've seen countless athletes do the same thing. Oh, well, when I lunge, that's when I get injured. No, fool. It ain't because you were lunging. It's because you've been lunging too much. It's because you've been playing too much. It's because you've been lifting too much without a rest. You lift 5 days in a row. You ran 6 days in a row, and you didn't get enough sleep. That might be why. It might not be lunges. But they don't want to listen to that. Whenever you exceed the tolerance, not in here, but the physiological tolerance of your tissue, whenever you exceed that, that's when you're at most risk for an injury. The clock starts at that point. And that's the issue that most people can't manage in their head when it comes to injuries. It's very, very, very predictable. Injuries are very predictable. There are certain injuries that you can't predict. The ones that are chronic, like, someone kicks you or they, usually it's something having to do with another individual. But the soft tissue injuries, overuse injuries of excessive force, those are preventable injuries for the most part. You have some say in whether your body is prepared for that. The problem is you got to listen to another person. The problem is you have to consider and prepare the body for, a pink Tesla. Wow, look at that. My daughter would love that. Pink Tesla. You have to prepare your body. You have to prepare your tissue. And the problem is you can't do it last week. You have to do it weeks in advance. The problem is we don't want to do that. We don't want to start training 18 weeks before the season, 2 days a week, 3 days a week. We don't want to do the sprinting that's required to make sure that you have enough conditioning, to make sure you have enough endurance to be able to sprint on the field, to sprint on the court, to swim, to bike, to do whatever the hell you need to do. The problem is people don't want to do that. They want to just say, all right, I'm going to take a pill. Oh, I'm just going to work out for the next 2 weeks. And nothing's going to happen. I'm not going to get hurt if I work out the next 2 weeks. I'll be fine. No, the hell you won't be fine. In what world can you procrastinate something and then everything's fine at the end of it? In what? Please tell me. I'm ranting because I've seen it play out over and over again. Oh, so same thing. Just haphazardly just pick things to do and things just work out. I've never seen it. Every person that I've researched that's been very successful, they've been very meticulous about how they proceed. They've set goals, they've set action items for every day. They're chipping away trying to figure out systematically how to do it. I used to look at like videos on marketing, videos on what have you. Any goal, you pick it. People have meticulously figured it out. I used to think that someone was just like super smart and they just kind of got it like that. No, these people are putting in the work to figure out what the hell they're doing, what they're doing wrong, where they can fix things. They're tracking the results to see if they can fix or tweak something. Like, they're putting themselves in a situation where it's inevitable that they're going to reach their goal, you know? And I used to think, and I used to search for someone having the magic bullet or just, magically figuring it out or just naturally talented. I don't believe that now. I honestly don't believe it. I think that people they put themselves in situations to be successful and they find ways to figure. I don't know this information. Okay, let me go research it so I'm going to start applying it. I don't know this thing. Okay, I'm going to go research it. I'll go talk to somebody that knows how to do it. Then I'll be good at it. That's what happens. I haven't seen anything. I've never seen anybody that's successful that hasn't done that. They usually are very meticulous about figuring out the answer to the solution, figuring out the answer to the problem. And I haven't seen anything to the contrary, to be completely honest. And so you just have to put in the work, listen to your body, and then do it again. Stress, recovery, stress, recovery. That's literally it. That's it. Stress, recovery, with conditioning, with the joints, with the muscles. And if you do that, you will succeed. That's all I do. That's literally all I do. All right, is this stressful? Is this going to challenge that person? Okay, now I'm going to back off a little bit. The next day we're going to do something a little different. Okay, then I'm going to back off. Maybe I'll circle back to the thing we did 2 days ago, or maybe I'll do something a little different. It depends on how their body's reacting. Once I figure out how their body's reacting, once I figure out the patterns of recovery, now I'm going to start tweaking it. I'm going to start cranking it so that we can then do a little bit more the next week. I'll do the same thing the next week. Then maybe I back off a little bit on the fourth week, and I do it all over again. That's a cycle. That's how we do it. Crank up the stress a little bit, see how the body reacts to it. Come on, get over. And then you keep it going over and over and over again. That's how you improve. I've given you the game. That's how you do it. So if you're a trainer, if you're a person that's working out, if you're a person who wants to get better at a physical endeavor, that's it. That's the key. That's the unlock. You stress your body a little bit, one area of the body at a time. You back off, you let it recover, and you repeat that same process 2 to 3 times a week, and you'll see progress. I guarantee you. I will bet anything that that's what's going to happen. That's it. Simple. That's how the body works. If you can do that, you'll see success. The problem is people want to do as much stress as they can because they're trying to make up for lost time. You can't do that. The body doesn't work that way. You can't make up for lost time. Once that time's gone, it's gone. You can't bring it back. You have to focus on the present. Focus on what you can do right now. Don't overdo it, right? Again, you can't make up for lost time. You can't take shots that you didn't do 5 years ago. You can't work out. You can't make up for the workouts that you missed 3 weeks ago, 2 days ago. You can only focus on today. You can only stretch right now. You can't make up for lost time with flexibility and mobility and strength or any of that stuff. You can focus on today. Make today stressful, tolerable. You can get through it. You recover, and you get back at it again. You can literally do, I've seen people do the same workout 2 to 3 times in 1 week. People think they need to change the exercises. No, you don't. Keep the same exercises. Stretch, do a little bit of cardio, do the same 3 workouts, right, for 3 weeks, and see what happens. It's not rocket science. It's stress recovery. That's it. I'm going on a rant. I'm yelling. I'm sorry. I can't help it. I just get really animated because it's so fucking simple. It's so simple. And people make it more complex than it needs to be. They make the goal more difficult than it needs to be. Oh, I need to work out for 2 hours in the gym. No, the hell you don't. You don't need to work out for 2 hours. Why are you putting that constraint on yourself? You can work out 30 minutes. There's nothing wrong with working out 30 minutes. There's nothing wrong with doing a bench press. You don't have to do all these other fancy tricep exercises. Don't make it more complicated. I was talking to somebody today. I was talking to one of my clients today. He was like, thank you for giving me this perspective. Keep the barrier to entry very low. Don't make it so damn complicated that you can't go and work out. Don't say, oh, this is not a workout. Yes, it is. If you do nothing and you start working out, that's a damn workout. If you do nothing and you sit on your ass, I'm sorry, kids, you can't listen to this. If you sit on your ass and you do nothing week after week and you go out for a walk, that's working out. That's a workout. If you're a basketball player and you don't do anything outside of playing basketball and you go outside for a run, even if it's for 2 miles, even if you're not panting, that's a workout. If you've never lifted a day in your life and you decide you're going to do bench press, you're going to do 3 exercises today, that's a workout. It doesn't matter if it's not what somebody else did. It doesn't matter if it's less than what you used to do in the past. The past is the past. It's over with. That you is now no longer here. So who gives a damn? Who gives a damn if you used to do 12 exercises 5 years ago? You ain't doing shit now. You ain't doing nothing. So don't say that's not a workout. It is a workout. If it's more than what you've been doing, it's a damn workout. So stop making excuses for you to not work out. Stop making it more difficult for you to not do what you need to do. Go sprint. If you're gonna sprint 2 times, do 2 sprints the full length of a football field, walk back. Okay, that's a workout. Low barrier to entry. Don't make it, oh, well, man, I have to do 12 sprints. No, the hell you don't. You need to do sprints. That's what you need to do. You need to stretch. Oh, I need to do yoga. No, the hell you don't. You need to stretch. Take 20 minutes or take 2 minutes and stretch. That's it. That's all you gotta do. Stop making it more difficult than it needs to be. That's the issue with people in exercise. You make it way more complicated than you need to make it more. It's resistance. You're resisting the fact that you want to work out. Just say you don't want to work out. Just say that. Be honest about it. Like some people just want to make things more difficult because they don't want to do it. There's nothing wrong with saying I don't want to work out. There's nothing wrong with that. But stop making excuses. Stop saying that you can't do something when you can. This is not a workout. Yes, it is. If you sit on your ass all day and you go to work, because that's what you sit on your ass. If you go and do a job, I have to sit on my ass sometimes. Sometimes I have to stand and help somebody work out. I'm not doing anything. That's not a workout. But the moment I go out for a walk, that's a workout because I didn't do anything. Or if I go do 2 or 3 exercises, that's a workout for me. It doesn't matter that I'm used to doing 8 to 12 exercises. That shit don't matter, man. It don't matter. It don't matter. What matters is you get out and you do something to help your body, to help your health and well-being. That's what fucking matters. Do something. Do something. God dang. I just get real frustrated when people make excuses about things that they can't do. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, I can't do that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Good gosh. I'm sorry. I went on a rant. I apologize. But I can't. Yeah. I've heard too many excuses about why people can't do stuff. And it's very frustrating. Stop making excuses for the things that you can't do. If you make it start small. Pick an amount that you can start with. You can ramp it up. You can progress back to the amount you used to do back in the day. But keep in mind, there's a reason why you're no longer doing that. There's a reason why you stopped doing that, right? Life got ahead of you. You had less time. You may be at a time in your life where you can't do that because you don't have enough time and space. You have to just keep that stuff in mind. That's what's important. So just keep that part in mind. I wish everybody the best. Good luck in your endeavors. I'm on my butt home so I can go wash some clothes because I need to wash clothes. You guys have a great day. I wish everybody love and success. Take care.